Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Oops, we're live.
We are live.
Oh man, today. How's it going over there, April?
It's going. It's great so far.
Can we? We can never get. I'm gonna start off by saying, well, first, welcome to our viewers to our program today, and we certainly hope you're going to get something out of it, and hopefully, we want to get something out of it also. So sit back and absorb this information, and it's free, by the way.
Free 99. Yes, it is. It's free. Mm-hmm.
So on today's program, we're going to do an extension of discussion on credit. Is that okay, April? What do you think?
Oh yes, that's okay. You can never have enough of a discussion about credit.
Yeah, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And how to further, your credit uses background on you opening up a business or something, and that's your credit is one of those factors that come into play quick. Whether you can get the money, get a bank financing for opening up a business, no matter how no matter how good your business plan is, but we'll find that out with our guest, I'm sure. So go ahead, April. You can give
all right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, of course, the topic of this show is your credit, your score, your business, and we've had some wonderful guests to help us understand more about our credit, but I don't believe that we could have a better guest today than Janet Graham, who is the area manager for the Myrtle Beach area Small Business Development Center at Coastal Carolina University. So I'm going to bring her on the screen now. Janet, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing fine today. You're beautiful as ever.
Well, thank you. It's been a long day.
Yes, it has.
Oops, I'm sorry I didn't say that, Ms. Graham. So.
Okay.
You're still beautiful as ever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And
Trying to keep up with you guys.
Well, I don't know where we get the energy from every week, but we find it from somewhere.
We find it from somewhere.
I think the energy comes from having great guests like you and discussions on great topics like this. So we appreciate having you here today. And of course, we're going to continue, as Brother Edward said, our talk about credit. And we've had some great guests in the past couple of weeks to come on and kind of give us like a 35,000 foot or feet overview of credit. But we're going to dig in a little deeper into some things tonight. And as I posted on social media earlier, if you have your credit report, now's the time to pull out a copy of your credit report, because we're actually going to kind of go through some segments and portions of the credit report. And Janet is going to talk a little bit about what all of that information means, because sometimes it can be overwhelming when you're trying to figure out what's what. So, but before we get started, Janet, why don't you tell those viewers who do not know who you are a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I'm Horry County born and bred, right here in Conway. Native, love it, don't want to go anywhere else. I work at Coastal Carolina University, as you've said. I run the Small Business Development Center there, and Ms. Bernita Platt, she's our senior consultant. She works with me. We cover 2 counties, Horry and Georgetown counties, and we help people to start small businesses, grow small businesses, anything small business. We can probably help you or get you some help. And our consulting services are at no cost. I also serve on the Horry County School Board here and some foundation boards and some other stuff. And I'm always got something to do. But glad to be here with you guys today. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. So why don't we start with, one of the, I guess, the more simple questions to kind of throw us into the topic. What exactly is credit, and how can it affect your life and your finances?
Well, that's a great question. Credit is actually your ability to borrow or to get funds that you don't have to take care of a need that you may have right now. it kind of fills the gap. And it's based on your ability to get credit or to borrow is based on your history and how you've paid people in the past. So if I said, April, how about let me hold $10,000 in cash? Probably some of the things you'd want to know is, who are you? Where do you live? How long have you lived there? Where have you worked? How long have you worked those jobs? Do you have a bank account? How much money do you have? Have you borrowed money from people before? And if you have you paid them back?
Mm-hmm.
And if you paid them back, did you pay them back on time, or did they just have to write it off? So it's very simple. Just borrowing money from somebody or being worthy enough to borrow money based on the fact that we think you're going to pay it back. That's my definition.
Mm-hmm. Being worthy enough to have someone lend you some money, and it's basically on good faith that you're going to pay it back. That's credit.
Trust. It's a trust issue.
It's a trust thing. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I think, a lot of people have a good idea that that's what credit is. I think sometimes people are just, I guess, a little bit in the dark about some of the implications of using credit lines and what it means whenever you, for example, have an extension of credit. And let's say you have a credit card, but you really don't have any funds, any cash money or whatever, and you're kind of borrowing, or you're actually borrowing when you use a credit card.
Yes.
And and some people will take credit cards and use them for business expenses and personal expenses on the notion that, okay, in a few weeks I'll have money to pay it back, or in a few weeks I'll have money to pay that minimum payment or whatever. Tell us why that's not the best plan whenever you're using your credit.
Well, usually in the banking world or in the financial world, you want to match things. So if you've got a long-term asset like land or a car or something like that, you want to match it to a financing tool that's the same thing. So that goes for a longer period of time. So when we take a credit card, which is a very short should be a very short payoff, and we use it to finance like a business or a car, it becomes very, 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 very expensive. Because what you kind of do is you keep getting yourself deeper and deeper in debt, and you can never kind of get your feet on the ground. So we try to match, if you've got a 1 year asset or whatever, we try to match it with a short-term type credit. And credit cards are notoriously almost the worst way to finance an asset like land or a business or a car. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's all you got. Mm-hmm. So if that's all you got, then use what you got. But really, you should be looking for something a little more that matches what it is that you're wanting to do, so that you don't get bogged down and not have any cash available to do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, I appreciate having this conversation with a deeper dive into even the business side of credit, and the difference between your business and your personal credit, but also how the business and the personal credit aligns. Yes. And I can see that we have some viewers here who are actually, very successful entrepreneurs, and I know that they would, like Darryl Brown says, you always need more knowledge of that, meaning credit. But, what are some things that people really need to understand about how their personal and their business credits can collide?
Well, I say that it's all business, but we don't typically think of it that way. When you get a paycheck, that's income, that's revenue. You got bills that you have to pay out of that. Those are expenses. So when you get your paycheck, you got to pay your electric bill, you got to pay the car, you got to pay the mortgage, you got to go to the doctor and have some fun. So really, when you're paying those bills on the personal side, you are running a business. I call it your personal business. Yeah. And what it's doing is you're getting skills or developing skills on that personal side that you can transition into the business or entrepreneurial side when you get ready to start that business. Because when you start the business, it's usually amplified. The business is, okay, you got more money coming in maybe, or not enough, and you've got to pay maybe higher bills, and you got to pay them more often, and God forbid you got employees. That's a whole nother can of worms. But if you've got a good foundation and the skills from that personal side, it easily transitions into the business side.
Mhm.
But sometimes I run into people who, well, I've messed up my credit. I don't have any, it's bad, and I'm going to start a business. Well, you really need those skills of managing your personal finance so that you can manage a business. That's one part of it. The other part is if you go to borrow money to start that business or to help that business, a lender is going to look at your personal credit history because the business doesn't have anything yet. So they're going to go back to your personal credit, run a report, and see how trustworthy we are, how we've been handling our business in the past, to see if how we might be able to do it in the future.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a misconception because I've heard some people who aspire to be in business say, oh, well, when I go to open my business and I'm trying to get a line of credit or trying to get a loan, that's different from my personal credit. But what I'm hearing you say is that no, it's actually the personal credit tells a story of whether or not you're able to handle the business credit or if you're even, worthy of receiving business credit or business loan. Is that correct?
That's correct. They're very intricately aligned. They're intertwined because your business doesn't have a life yet. It hasn't been born yet. So all a lender has to go on is you personally, because you're going to be running this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all they have to really go on is your history and how you performed in the past. And I tell people, you might have got religion last night and you're going to pay all your bills on time now.
Oh.
And that's good, but they're going to go based on what that history says.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, that's why it's important for us to know how all these things mesh together. And the other thing is that I don't think a lot of us know is that your credit is it comes into play when you try to get a job. If you're trying to get a job in a financial type industry,
Right.
They're going to pull your credit. They look at it when you try to get car insurance, house insurance. The list goes on, and they're basing what you pay for that particular product that they're selling. They're basing it on your credit worthiness, whether they think you're going to pay that money back or not. So if you're not if you're more risky, it's going to cost you more money.
Mm-hmm.
To buy money, it's going to cost you more money.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, how does a situation of a person using something like PayPal or cash, app instead of having a credit card, how does that impact your endeavor to go and buy and purchase something big? Do they look at that as have this bad credit or good credit? You don't have a credit card. You're just paying your bills with for example, PayPal or something.
Well, some people, like Dr. Johnson that you had on a few weeks ago, he was saying that, people who have money, they don't need to borrow it. They may borrow it for business reasons or tax reasons or whatever. But some people just have money and they don't need a credit score. It's inconsequential. But for the normal people, I need a good credit score and I need to understand what it is. PayPal and credit and Cash App, to me, it's just cash, and it's not showing up anywhere. It's not showing up on a report.
Right.
So, which I hope we can get to, sometime later. But nobody's reporting that, to my knowledge, because it's just cash. So, if you're trying to establish credit or trying to improve your credit, I don't think those two are going to help you to do that. But based on whatever it is you need to do, that might be the right product for you.
Yeah. Right. Because PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, they're really just conduits of platforms that people use to transfer and send money, much like a Western Union, basically, is what they are. And to your point, they don't actually impact your credit score. Now, I know that, there are certain platforms that actually have an extension of credit. For example, PayPal now offers a credit line, but that's just the same thing as if you were opening a credit card, with someone or a particular company or whatever. And I think that to your point about money in hand versus the need to borrow and the need for credit. The question that comes to my mind is, if you have a lackluster credit history, how do banks or lenders look at that if they are considering lending you money and you do have money in the bank? Is the fact that you may have some funds saved in an account at the bank, or maybe you have something that they can, I guess, use to determine how much you actually have as cash on hand. Will that help a person who actually has lackluster credit?
Absolutely, because they're not really taking a risk or as much of a risk. They have a way to get their money back if you default or if you don't pay. So banks love that. They love to see those people coming that are going to collateralize their loan or back their loan with cash that they already have. That's kind of a no-brainer. But again, it's going to be important to, if your credit is not good, to understand why and start working on that, because it's something that can be easily fixed. It can, we can, if you know what to do, then we can do it, and that score can start going up. And I know Mr. Johnson, you can hire him to do that, and that's what he does, and it works. But there are ways you can do it yourself organically and get that score up there.
Absolutely. There's a few questions in the thread, and we're going to go to the thread for just a moment, and then we will share with our audience a sample credit report, and Janet is going to use her expertise to help us kind of break it down and take a look at some of the components of it. So again, if you have a copy of your credit report, you may want to pull it out and take some notes as she's kind of explaining what each portion of the credit report represents or what it depicts. So one of the first questions that comes in, Laquanette Brumel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. She asked, can you break down compound interest on credit cards? I've read about it, but don't quite get the breakdown.
Okay, Laquanette, no, I can't. I can't break it down either. Now, what you can do is if you have a question about it, I would encourage you to call the bank where you have the credit card and ask them to explain how it is. Because when you get your card, it's all broken down on those 4 or 5 pages that they send with the card that I don't read because I don't want a headache. But they can break it down because you got an APR and all these other rates that come into play. But I'm sorry, I'm not that smart.
Oh, now, Janet, yes, you are. You are that smart. That just may not be your purview. I mean, we are talking about interest rates, and that, to me, that's like a, big finance question. But thank you, Laquanette, for that question. And she also says, good to excellent FICO score is reachable. It takes planning and discipline. So, so we hear about FICO scores. We hear about the various credit reports such as Experian and Equifax and TransUnion and all of these different scores. And I've always wondered why the scores are always so different. You have 3 different reports and may have 3 different scores. And, what I came to learn is that sometimes it depends on when things are reported. And then, but there are other factors that, for whatever reason, maybe their algorithms weigh more heavily than others. So, here's a great question from Marjorie McIver. Which credit reports are most reliable?
I think the top 3, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And what I usually tell people to do is to go to like annualcreditreports.com. You can get access to all 3 of those at least once a year. I think you can look at it as often as you think, but you can it's something that if you want a score, you got to pay for it, which you don't need a score because you can pretty much tell what your score might be when you start understanding what's in there. But I say go there, annualcreditreports.com, and you can get a copy of all 3. But just remember when you set up your account to keep track of your password and your username so that you can get back in and look at it again, because you want to keep kind of referring to it. But there's something in there that if you do something, you might have to pay, but I can't quite remember what that is. But you get to look at all 3. And what I do is I save them on my hard drive on my computer so that I can go back and look at them at my leisure. and not have them open out on the browser.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Edward.
yeah. So, can you give us quickly a threshold for where the line says you have good credit and you have bad credit? The number, the threshold number. I mean,
Well, a credit report is all it is a credit a report card of how you've been performing in the past, paying when it comes to paying off creditors. So I guess on average, I mean, the score goes up to 850. That's the absolute best you can get, and I think the lowest is in the like 400 or something like that, I believe. So anywhere in the middle, like 600-700 is average, I would guess. And the higher you could get, like the better it is. But I will say that with the advent of the pandemic and the coronavirus, that people were having like 700 credit scores, and they were able to get credit where they weren't able to get it before. So some of those lenders were kind of bending those rules, and the number didn't really mean as much as it did before. So now they're kind of looking into the report more so than at the actual numbers. And if there's something in your report that's not so good and you can explain it, then that goes a long way. So don't shy away from going into your report and saying I had some medical difficulties or whatever, or my house got blown up or whatever it is. Put it in there, because they will look at that and they'll take that into consideration.
I'm about to say that some of these major companies who depend on a credit score, they do a good risk analysis, don't they?
Yeah. If you're going to a bank for a loan, banks don't like risk. They're very risk averse. They don't like to take chances, and they want to make sure that when they give you the money, they're going to get it back. That's why they ask you a million questions on that application. They're trying to see where there might be problems and deal with them. So because they're not taking on as much risk and they're, checking under every stone, you're going to get a better rate from a bank. That you're probably going to get the lowest rate you can get from a bank, because they aren't going to take any risk. And they probably aren't going to charge you any fees, or if they charge you fees, they'll be low. Now, if you go to these other institutions that will give you payday loans or whatever, they take on more risk. You're going to pay a much higher rate for them taking on that risk. And you may also have to pay fees. Okay, if I give you this loan, you're going to have to pay me $400 just for me to give it to you. And then you're going to have to pay me 300% interest on top of that for $1,000, which is crazy. So do your homework, know what you're getting into, and aim to deal with banks, because it's gonna cost you less.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say it's like, let's say you went to buy a car, Brother Edward, and you wanted to buy a Tesla, and you had your $100,000 to get you went to get your $100,000 loan to get the Tesla, and you went to the bank, and they're going to charge you 5% because your credit's great. You got an 850 credit score. Or you might pay 2% because you're getting it from the dealer. Okay, if your credit's not so good, you might, instead of you paying 2% or 5%, you might have to pay 10 or 12 for that same car. Somebody else with really good credit could get it for a lower rate than somebody with not so good credit. So if our credit's not good, we wind up paying more money than we need to, and that's our money. It's making us poorer or less wealthy when we have to pay those high interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you want to go, April? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. That what you just said. What would you say if your audience, you were in an audience, and the audience was from 20 to 25 year olds? Does that still apply? I mean, would you use a much stronger samples and stuff like that? And do they need it the most, you're saying?
I'd say I would think so, because at a certain point in life, and they taught us this in finance class. Right. Once you get to your 50s, in life, you should have kind of plateaued and be getting to a place where you're financially comfortable and set. So, until we get there, we're kind of pushing up that hill from 20 on up to, I guess, 40, 50. But then after that, you should be leveling off and getting ready for retirement and have a pretty, your money should be working for you at that point instead of you working for your money. So I say for younger people, it's extremely important that you develop these skills as soon as possible because it's going to make you richer. We think just getting more money makes us rich, but a lot of times it's keeping the money that you get and not giving it away with a higher interest rate.
Yeah, that's true.
Or with fees, or with late fees, and that kind of thing.
That's true. Okay.
And to just kind of piggyback on what you were saying, Janet, we have a question for Priscilla Fuller, and she is asking about, what parents can do to provide more financial literacy, which is highly important. I think that a lot of times when young people get into trouble with credit cards, or as Ms. McIver has even pointed out, that a lot of young people will go to these finance companies, and it isn't just the young people. We see, adults who are going to finance companies because they have ruined their credit to the point where they can't, do anything else except for go to finance companies to get what they need. But
absolutely,
and it's a shame because we see a lot of older people doing that as well. So two things: what can parents do, as Ms. Fuller asked, to make sure that their children are getting the proper financial literacy? And
Let me answer that one because I know I'll forget the other one.
All right, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
I would say start as soon as you can to help them to understand what a dollar is, or what earning a dollar means, and that it doesn't just happen that you get money, that there's some sweat equity that goes into it. I think that's very important, that they understand what money really is. It's an exchange for our time, our talent, our sweat, and that you don't just want to throw it away because that's a part of who you are.
Right.
So having them to do a little something and they get paid for it, that helps to start to understand how money works and compensation, and it starts planting those seeds. And for example, with Dr. Carson, that was the brain surgeon, his mother didn't have any money, and she, they were on her because they wanted all these nice things, and she couldn't explain to him that she didn't have any money because she was a single parent and she wasn't making any. So she handed him all of the bills to pay, and she handed him all of the income and let him make it work. And then he understood, it started to fall into place. So just the simple things, helping them to understand that there's a cycle to it, that, we work and we get paid, and then we take some of that and we pay for the things we want, and we have a little bit of fun, then we start over. So that's what I would suggest. If somebody else has something else, a lot of things work, but just going back to what our mothers and our grandmothers taught us, our day's work, our day's pay.
They had it now. They had the knowledge.
And I think that our parents and grandparents have the knowledge and had the knowledge, but they didn't always talk about those things with their children. I know I can say that from personal experience that my mom and dad handled the affairs of the home, and they never really talked about credit or how to balance a checkbook and things like that, because it was almost like well, this is the adult lane right here. You don't worry about it. You're not paying the bill, so you don't need to know anything about it. But the bottom line is, we really needed to know, because once we went off to college and you had, these vendors with the little table setups and offering you the $250 credit cards at every turn, little did we know that we were ruining our credit on something that now people spend most nights on a nice dinner somewhere. You know what I mean? Right. So, so I think that there's a lot that can be done in terms of financial literacy, and even exercises that, people who are working with young people can start to bring in, experts like yourself and Dr. Johnson and, others who can come in and actually have those conversations with young people, especially if they're not really having them at home.
So the other teaching them how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah,
that's important, and I've taught classes on that to children and adults too, and just for them to understand that you can't spend more than you get. I mean, and you need to keep up with it. You need to make sure that you understand that just because I've got checks in my checkbook doesn't mean I have any money. And
that's big.
I want to give some homage to our ancestors. I talk about it all the time that they didn't have any financial knowledge or training like we have, but they were smart because they would buy land, and they would sacrifice, and they would buy land because they understood that was something they could understand. So they bought land, and what happened was that was an investment and land still is an investment that normally appreciates. It goes up in value. So if somebody like our ancestors paid $3,000 for an acre of land 30 years ago or 40 years ago, in Horry County today, that might be worth $50,000 to $90,000. That's an investment. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this stuff. A lot of it's just common sense.
Absolutely.
So back to that second part of the question. The second question, when we were talking about people using like these payday loans and finance companies as options for credit, so to say, what are what's some good advice for people or a direction for other options that they may want to consider before they step into a finance company or go to a payday lending source if they need money?
I'd say, first of all, really understand how much it's costing you, because that's really, really, really expensive debt. That's like if you were to go into McDonald's and the hamburger cost $5 and you wind up paying $25 for it. It's that kind of interest that you're paying. So understand what it is that you're actually buying, because you're buying some really expensive debt there. That's the first part. And it's easy to get. That's why it's so expensive. I would say to try to go to your bank where you have a relationship. Most of us have a savings somewhere, or a checking, or a CD, or something like that. Something. And just ask your banker, I'm trying to establish credit. I'm trying to get on my financial feet. I would like to apply for a credit card. And most banks are more than happy to help you get a credit card. So a credit card is good because it's a line that you use it, and as you pay it down, you can use it again. You don't have to keep going back to ask for more money like you do when you go to the same day creditors. When you pay off that loan, you got to go back and get another one. But with the credit card, you kind of pay as you go. But if you don't use it, you don't pay. And that's helping you to establish some better credit. When creditors look at your report and they see that you've been getting money from these payday places, it's a negative. It's kind of like bad credit, because it says that you don't really have the skills to manage your money.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make money, but we don't have. There might be something missing with how we're managing it that we don't quite understand. And let me say this: when I worked at the bank, there was a guy who would come in every week, and he put his paycheck in a savings, and he would be charged these exorbitant fees, like $45 every week or a month or something like that. These exorbitant fees, because he was taking money out of his savings all the time. So I told him, I'm like, why don't you get a checking account? Why are you paying these fees? And he said, well, I thought that was normal. That was the normal fee for having an account. And I'm like, no, that's not normal. So it's things like that, just simple things that we take for granted sometimes that people don't know. So he was paying these exorbitant fees. That's his money that he's just giving to somebody for nothing. So sometimes we have money, and if we just kind of tweak the way we use it, sometimes we could get a lot more out of it.
So tell me, how do you think we can reach the younger generation for them to take advantage of the things that, like you just said, they're missing, or the things that they're doing wrong and they're losing their money by not knowing simple things about managing their money?
Well, that's a good question. I would say for them to find a mentor, somebody that they look up to, that they think has it going on financially, and ask them, how'd you do it? You know, what are you doing differently than I'm doing? I always tell people to ask questions. And if you don't get, you know, if they don't answer you, you haven't lost anything. You're in the same place you were when you started. But if they give you an answer, then that puts you one step ahead towards meeting your goal and being financially independent. Most of it is, you know, again, align yourself with somebody that you feel like is financially smart, and ask them, you know, I'm getting ready to get a cosign. I'm going to cosign for somebody to get something. Is that a good idea? You know, have somebody.
Yeah, trust me, that's not a good idea.
Or, you know, I make, you know, how much should I save out of my check? And I've saved $10,000. What's a good investment for that? What can I do with it? What do you suggest? I've got extra money. You know, should I go to Hawaii and live it up and take a couple of friends, or should I buy an acre of land over here? You know, should I invest in that?
All right. Well, let's go to another question, and this is going to help us to segue into the credit report. Can you talk about those credit checks that do not affect your credit score versus those that do affect your credit score?
There are some entities that kind of look at your credit periodically. Let's say you might have a mortgage or something like that with somebody, and they're going to look sometimes at your credit to make sure you haven't maybe done anything crazy to put yourself into a risk category that may cause them not to be able to get their money. That's not affecting your credit. I think the only ones that affect your credit are maybe the ones that you're asking to look at your credit, the way I understand it. And things change so much, it might even be different now. But I know if there's some ways you can go in and look at your credit, and if you're not careful, you can affect the score in a negative way. So you have to be careful with that. And there are, if I'm going to buy a car and I go to the first place and they say no and they pull my credit. I go down the street to the next one, they say no and they pull my credit. I go down the street to the next one, they say no and they pull my credit. That's really pulling my score down, because it's looking to the other people like there's a problem. They don't know what it is, but there's a problem somewhere that somebody sees. So one trick that I tell people to do is, if you're looking to buy a car or whatever it is, get a loan for a business, to go to annualcreditreports.com and print out your credit report, and go and get the application offline from the lender or whoever you want, or a generic one, to fill out an application, and maybe even a personal financial statement. And if you're trying to get a business loan, take your business plan. Excuse me. Take that to the lender and ask them, you know, I need X amount of dollars. Here's my information. You know, I don't want you to pull my credit report, but just kind of look at this and tell me, is this a loan that your bank would do? Would you be willing to look at this? And if they say no, we don't have an appetite for this kind of loan, well, then you take your paperwork and you go to the next one and do the same thing, and nobody's pulled your report and it hasn't affected your score. So just little tactics like that can help a lot sometimes. But just be very careful when you go to places like Cato's and places like that, and they say, oh, well, get this card. Or, you know, if you save $5 if you get this card, because they're pulling your report. Belt does it all the time. They're pulling your report, and that's going to affect your score.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
That's good news. I mean that's good information. Not good news, but yeah.
Try to get one credit card if you can with a pretty good balance that gives you cash back, and pay it off every month. This is a trick I've been doing for about 5 years, and I've got a lot of money in my little cash account that I'm saving to go somewhere special. But what I started doing was, I got a cash back card from my bank, from Bank of America, and you know, we all pay mortgage, water bill, and all that. So every month I would subtract out all of my bills that I had to pay from my checkbook. and I would pay it with my credit card. Everything that I could pay with my credit card, I would pay with my credit card because I'm getting cash back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. But when the end of the month comes, I got to pay that credit card bill, right?
Absolutely.
But I've already subtracted it from my checking account balance. So I got the money. I don't have to scramble to try to find that money because I've already deducted it from my checking account balance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when the credit card bill comes, pay that credit card off down to zero. So what they essentially are doing is they're paying you to pay your bills and to improve your credit score.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a neat little trick.
Really?
Yeah, like I have I know that I'm going to purchase, and everybody has to, gas, and you're going to go buy groceries. So getting that cash rewards card is always good, and you can take that cash reward, I guess the bonuses that you receive, the cash back, and just apply it to your credit card payments. That's the part of the credit card payment that you make. So that I think there are creative ways for you to work on that, to save money and all of that. And we don't always do it because we don't always have the money to save. But I think the overarching point of all of this is, number one, and it's been said time and time again, do not live beyond your means.
Exactly.
And then the other part is, it is okay to splurge and to, staycation or vacation or whatever, but you have to plan for those things. So, create a jar or a box or whatever, and, throw a couple of dollars in it every now and again and create a vacation experience. Or if there's something you have your eye on buying or whatever, that is within the means of what you've saved, the goal that you, placed, in that box or in that jar, as far as what you want to buy. Do not go broke trying to look like you have money. That's a part of it. And so I know that we want to show that credit report, and I'm glad that our audience has some excellent questions here. And there's one that I think is going to take us into it. We've already kind of touched upon it. So, and that's the one about the impact of the credit checks on your credit. So do you want me to bring up the credit report now so that we kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because it's close to if you bring that up, we can show it to them.
Okay. All right. So
we have good questions.
Yeah, they do. They have excellent questions tonight. Keep them coming, especially if you have, because Janet, of course, like we said before, is the area manager for the Small Business Development Center. And if you have especially business related questions, ask. Tonight is the best time to do it. So here's what we have. It's a sample report, and as she said, you can actually pull up these sample reports online if you want, and just kind of take a look at it and some of the explanations that go along with it. But if you have your own report, you may want to pull your report out now and pop a question into the thread that Janet may be able to answer tonight. So tell me what you want to do at this point, Janet, as I scroll through this document for you.
Okay, this one is from one of the top 3, and that's Experian. And as April said, you can go online and Google it and find this same sample. That's what I did because they're pretty good. Right across the top, that blue banner is like a summary of everything that's in the plan. It starts off and how it's laid out in the plan. Your personal information, your personal statements, potentially negative items on your credit report, accounts that are in good standing, any inquiries, like they just ask people who are looking into your credit. And this is a good place to see who's been snooping around in your credit. It's a good way to find, and your credit report is an excellent way to find fraud and identity theft. Excellent. Lots of places to find that. Important messages that may be in there. And this is something that I've never seen, but they've got a dispute card. So if there's something in there that you want to dispute, they've got little tabs that you can go in and dispute it. So there's a lot of information in here. It seems overwhelming, but it's not. It's just a report card of what you've done financially and credit-wise over the last several years. So if we find anything that doesn't look right, we got a chance to fix it. Okay. And right up front is that personal information. It'll have we see a name, and it's John Consumer, Jonathan Consumer, and Jay Consumer. And so what they're saying is these are all the different ways that this person has gotten credit in different names, like Janet Graham, Janet P. Graham, Janet Parker Graham, JP Graham. If you see Jesus Consumer in there, that's a red flag. Okay, unless you've used that name somewhere, that might be a red flag. So right off the bat, these are some places that you can come and see where there might be some funny things going on. And to the right, there's a place that you can dispute it. Up under that, they're showing the different addresses where John Consumer has lived. If you look there and you see an address where you've never lived, what's that?
Another red flag, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's a red flag.
Wow.
And I'll say these things do happen. I had a cousin who was living with another cousin in California. He had assumed his name and had married somebody else in his name and had children in his name.
Oh my goodness.
And when we looked at his credit report, there was this other address there. So, you can find a lot of things out by looking at your credit report.
Wow.
The next is the social security number, and they only show the last 4 digits. If there's anything there that doesn't look familiar, it's not yours, it's not your spouse's, then that's a time for a dispute to start asking questions. They're saying that this John Consumer was born in 1991. If you weren't born in 1991, there may be a problem. It's showing the name of the spouse. If you don't have a spouse, that's not your spouse's name, that's a red flag. And the other thing under there is it's saying that the date of the birth indicates that credit may have been established before the age of 18.
Mm.
And we've heard horror stories of adults who have gotten credit in their child's name. And when the child becomes an adult and tries to get their own, their credit's already messed up. So this is a good way to start looking at those little things and just seeing what's in there. Lots of information, and we hadn't even gotten into it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your personal statements on this, and they all look a little bit different, but they have the same basic information. But this one's very simple. It's saying that the file has been frozen due to state legislation, and I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up. So it's saying that, now we can freeze our credit file if we think that there's something funny going on. If you find that there's some fraud or you think they're trying to steal your identity, you can go in and freeze your credit. And that's what that means.
So how long can you keep it frozen?
I think it's left up to you.
Okay. All right.
I can't say for sure. Okay. I hate to say for sure because I don't do that every day.
Okay.
But it's good to know you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right up front, we get to all the negative stuff. They start off with the negative. So right here, we see that they had no public records, which is good. They didn't have any liens or anything like that. Like if you left the doctor's office and you didn't like him and you owed him $100 and you didn't pay him, the doctor could take a lien out against you and that would show up on your credit report. If you got cable and you left them owing $35, they could put a lien on you for that $35. So those little things like that can be affecting your score and you not know it. So that's why it's important to come in and look at your report from time to time. The first account there is they give you the account name, and it's a credit card company. And they give the address of the credit card company and the phone number and the account number. They got all your information. And it's amazing that, all this stuff is being recorded, but it is. And we need to know that. So we've got the account number. It tells that this is a credit card. And it tells that it's revolving, which means that that's usually what credit cards are, is you use a little bit. And then when you pay it off, that adds to the balance that you can borrow again. It just keeps revolving and you don't have to go back to the bank to borrow more.
Absolutely. Yep.
It tells what your recent balance is, that you owe $273. It tells what your credit limit was when you originally got the card, which was $14,219. And your monthly payment is $10. You will never pay this puppy off by paying $10 a month.
Yeah, but that catches somebody. That catches a lot of people, though.
and but they're past due $20. So and see, this is good because we get to see all the history. For years they paid everything on time, but now this right now they're late, and they're late 30 days. They're 30 days late. So we think, oh, I'm just a month late, it's no big deal. It's showing up on your credit report and it's affecting your score. It shows the date that the credit card was open, that it's still open, and the date that they ran the report, which is June 2015, and they first reported December 2013, and it's the individual's responsibility. So any questions or anything on that? That's a lot of information to digest. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So now we get into the accounts in good standing, and this is showing that this is a car loan. It's for 5 years. They owe $11,600 on it. It started off at $19,000. They paid $350 a month. Same type information, but now we see at the bottom this account history. Everything is good. They've always paid this payment on time. So that's why it's in good standing. And this is what makes your credit score sing. It's when you pay what you owe either before it's due or on time. That's going to boost your score. The next one is American Apartments. And it looks like they're renting for $1,000 a month. They've got it for a year, and they've been paying on time since 2015. Everything's great. Now, if there was, see that dispute button over to the right?
Right.
If you've never lived there or this didn't right, this is your time to dispute that.
That makes it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is pretty cool. I've never seen that before, but that makes it very simple.
Mm-hmm.
So now that question somebody asked about people who are looking into your credit and maybe pulling reports on you, this is where you can see everything that's been going on and who's been looking at your credit. Some of them happen organically, it just happens and it's okay. And to my knowledge, it doesn't really affect your score that much. But the ones who are like credit cards and banks and car loans and that type stuff, those are going to affect your score. Okay. If there are any important messages and all that, this is just their fine print and everything here. Very simple report. Very simple. But a lot of information in there.
So when a person actually pulls copies of or a copy or pulls copies of their reports, and they see items that need to be disputed, and I guess they go through the motions of disputing those items or contacting the credit bureaus, typically how long does it take for the credit bureaus to complete an investigation or whatever and to have those items removed from their reports?
Now, I don't know because I've never done that, and I can't say for sure. But I would imagine that with, we got a lot of identity theft going on now. I would think it's to their advantage to go ahead and get it done quickly. Banks want it taken care of because it costs them money. So I can't imagine that it used to take a long time to get identity theft taken care of, but now they've got a system down pat. So I don't think it would take very long.
Okay. All right. So again, we have Janet Graham here, and she's talking to us about your credit, your score, your business. And so if you have any other questions before we wrap up this segment, please drop them into the thread. If you're watching from YouTube or Facebook, we would love to answer these questions for you. And this has all been great information. And I know that some of it is probably, what you've heard before, or maybe you thought you knew, but Janet is confirming a lot of things that we definitely need to just be mindful of as we,
We thought we knew.
We thought we knew, exactly, as we utilize our credit and things that we just need to be watchful of. And, it's really easy for scammers and hackers to get a hold of our information nowadays. Sometimes you receive text messages, you receive emails, phone calls, things of that nature, and they sound so convincing.
Yeah,
and,
so convincing.
I'm always just a little nervous, especially for our elderly, because they'll start riddling off information and, thinking that they're talking to a creditor because they sound convincing and they sound intimidating. And a lot of times it's a scammer just waiting to get a social security number or some pertinent information that will help them to, like you said, steal their identity or their assets or whatever. So, it sounds like it's just a good practice to make sure that we pull our credit reports at least once a year to make sure that we're on point. And then two, I imagine that if you are trying to purchase a home or a car or even go into business for yourself, it's good to know where you stand before you go somewhere and trying to, secure a car or open up a business or whatever, because nothing I imagine could be more embarrassing than walking into an establishment and you think you're ready, but like Brother Edward said, you just don't know, and you find that you have a lot of work to do before they will extend you credit. So Janet, from the standpoint of your small business development expertise, what are I guess a few pieces of advice that you would give individuals who are looking to start a business as far as what they need to do right now if they're thinking about starting a business as it relates to their credit?
Okay. Before we get on that, there's one juicy piece of information I want to lay on us.
Okay.
If you're thinking of getting married or engaged or whatever, just understand that when you're married, that's a contract. That's a legal binding contract. And whoever you bind with, you're binding with their credit. Okay. So you might have stellar credit and they might have really horrible credit, but when you come together, the bad credit could affect your ability to do things, and some creditors may come after you. So married people, you can keep your kind of credit stuff separated, but a lot of times we get things jointly. So just kind of bear that in mind, and you might want to run that credit report before you marry that good looking person.
Oops.
You just might want to
have him or her work on a few things before you say I do.
I just had to drop that little juice in there.
Well, I think that's hey, you can't get any more real than that.
Right.
It's the truth.
That's some sweet juice.
Anyone wanting to start a business, now's the time. It's just right for entrepreneurship and opportunity, and it's just so easy with social media, and marketing doesn't really cost you anything, and you can get the word out. It's wonderful, but you still have to go back to the tried and true and have a good plan. Understand what you're getting into, who your target market is, how you're going to reach them above all the other noise that's out there. And are you going to do it consistently and deliver that consistent product or service? Do you have the money and the time to put into it? Do you really, are you passionate about it? That's where I always start with people. Do something that you really love, because you're going to have to give so much of yourself in it, that in your time, that when you do it, you want it to be something that feeds your soul. And you not come home every night and want to just hurt somebody. You want it to be fulfilling. So if you start with something you love, rather than something that you think is going to make you a lot of money, you're going to always win. Because if you do what you love, the money will find you.
That's true.
The money will find you.
That is right. Well, Janet, this has been just priceless information. We love to say free 99 around here. You can't beat that. And it's great that you have the knowledge and the expertise in this particular area, because I'm sure there are a number of people who could definitely benefit from connecting with you, especially if they are aspiring to be their own, to be business owners. And so how can people be in touch with you if they want to know more, or they need your assistance through the Small Business Development Center?
They can do a Google search, and we should come up under Coastal. They can email us at mbarea.sbdc@coastal.edu, or give us a call at 843-349-4010.
All right. And remember, you can always watch the rebroadcast of this particular broadcast and, take in the information. I know that we are live and you're actually watching it and trying to take it in, but sometimes you just need to marinate on the information a little bit, start and stop the video so that you can write down important numbers and email addresses. And so we certainly
pull up their own credit report and then go back through that sample and kind of look at it.
Mm-hmm.
That other one, the Equifax one, is really, really, really detailed, that sample. Mm-hmm. And it's got some good stuff in there, some good bad stuff and some good stuff. So it's a lot more than the one we looked at. So lots of ways to get yourself straight. And like I said before, the best way to repair your credit is to pay what you owe and pay it either before or on time. It works every time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Janet, so much for being with us tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have you back because I know that you have a lot of great information left to share with us. So thank you for your time tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are
welcome. We certainly appreciate that, Ms. Graham.
Thank you.
All right.
In regards to my brother.
Yes, Marcus.
How we doing?
We're good. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I listening to all that very important stuff. A lot of people my age coming out of college, starting careers, preparing to move out on their own. That's pretty important to know about credit and how to sustain it and how to build it. What's most important. So that's pretty big, and I've definitely attended to that entire episode because I myself am moving out on my own. So, that's really important for somebody my age to understand credit and how to build it and keep it strong, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Go ahead, April.
No, I was just going to say, for those of you who are still tuning in or just tuning in, if you don't know, now you know. Marcus McCullough is our WCM Live correspondent. And, he started out as an intern, but he's truly a correspondent. He elevated quickly. I'm telling you, Marcus is sharp. And so, he has covered the city and county council news for us and area happenings and can, give us basically a great overview and break it down so that we can understand.
Breaks it down like Marcus.
Breaks it down, yeah. So it's always a pleasure and a treat to hear from Marcus every single week. And so, Marcus, I know you have some good stuff for us this week. What's going on in Conway, around town, and in our city, right, Miss McIver?
I'm gonna say it like the preacher said. Unless I keep you too long, I'm gonna give you a little rundown on what's going on around town. So a lot of people have seen the campaign signs taking place. You see a lot of campaign signs pretty much everywhere you turn for all kinds of different offices. Mm-hmm. And it is, as of last week, the official kickoff for campaign season has started in Horry County and city limits in places like Conway and Loris. So for people who don't understand, the first primary election day is on June 9th. And you see all these signs around and all these different people, and you see commercials and billboards and ads on Facebook and any other platforms you may use, TV, things of that nature. But we want you to be educated in this voting season, because voting is something that's really near and dear to my heart. My great-grandmother, and she was 108 years old when she passed, but she was one of the first African-American people around here to vote. So she instilled us at an early age how important it is to vote and to be educated on your vote, not to just go in and click and check and fill out your ballot the fastest way possible. Be an educated voter. Understand who you're voting for. And luckily now there are resources like scvotes.org to where you can go in, search your county, and find every available position that's going to be on your ballot. So you can do more research on the candidate to see what they bring to the table. But one
Marcus, you're muted for some reason. Yeah.
Kicked me off for a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did. Right, okay. Mm-hmm. Did you say scvotes.org?
scvotes.org.
Okay.
And if you go in there, click on your county, it gives you an entire ballot that you'll see on election day when you step into the booth. And it will give you every candidate, their party, and what position they're running for, and all of the different positions that are being elected on, so that you can do research heading into election day, not just go in blind when you see somebody's name, or if you see a position that you didn't know, like Soil and Water Commission, something of that nature. Mm-hmm. You can do research on it and see, okay, how well of a fit is this candidate for that office. And we just want to make sure people understand that and know that that's out there as a resource and tool for them to use when it comes time to get in the election booth. Also, another big thing that's going to be pretty pertinent for anybody who lives in the Conway area or travels between Conway and Myrtle Beach. The bridge at Main Street, the 501 Business Bridge, is going under its yearly inspection on May the 17th. So for anybody who doesn't know, that was the bridge that they worked on all last summer. That was the traffic was bumper to bumper. You had to either get on 501, had a lot of congestion downtown. So they wanted to make sure they put it out now, a week from today. I believe at 5 p.m. is what the time was listed, is when they're going to start the inspection. So they put out that there shouldn't be any traffic congestion or miscues as far as traffic. Traffic should flow normally, but if anything is to arise, there'll be announcements on traffic detours and delays, and if it's going to be any lane closure on the DOT website, scdot.gov. So make sure to keep posted to that to find any updates on traffic. And then we have something else that's pretty interesting I found. The month of May is Building Safety Month in the city of Conway. So for people who don't understand building safety is understanding not only how safe a building is to inhabit or live in, but to understand how to deal with it if something is to come up like a fire, natural disaster, something of that nature. So at 196 Laurel Street, every Tuesday afternoon, there's going to be a weekly building safety meeting. Now that meeting is not just them sitting there talking to you. It's a forum, more or less, to where you can sit and ask questions like, what do I do in case of a flood coming back to my house again? What do I do in situations of a tornado or a hurricane? Is it safe for me to stay in my home because my home is in this shape or that shape? Or should I evacuate? And people will be there from the Building Safety Commission to give you a breakdown and tell you the best plan of action as far as home maintenance, keeping buildings safe, workspace safe, and also a plan in case you need to evacuate in the matter of a natural disaster. They also have a kids corner there for children. Somebody there can explain it to your children from ages 5 to 12. Yeah, 5 to 12, and explain to them how to plan and how to execute their plans in case of emergency in a home or at school or something of that nature. Because now with COVID, kids don't get to do the regular tornado drills like we used to do when we got in the hallway and everybody bent down and you cover your head with your hands or a textbook. So they do things like that and tell kids about fire alarms and fire alarm safety and how to who to contact in certain issues. And it's pretty important. I think it's something pretty special that the community should definitely come out to. It's free to attend, totally free, very educational, very informative, and it's something that we should all stay abreast of in our community. And then my last point for the announcements is Georgetown Technical College is offering pre-career job training for public service fields. So public service it pretty much just pertains to fire, EMS, and police. So all three of these different fields have academies you have to go through. Some of them are 3 to 6 month long training courses, and you can go in instead of going in without understanding anything, coming in blind with your eyes closed, not understanding what you're going to be witnessing. They have professionals in all three careers that will be there giving training. Mind you, this is free, that you can go and get some experience and have some understanding before you go into that career field in case that is what you want to do, so that you're not invested in this field and say, well, it's not what I'm feeling. It's not really my cup of tea. I'd like to try something different. This is a way for you to do that without having to totally invest your entire time in trying to plan for a new career instead of leaving your job. That's the announcements, and I've got a couple events coming up this weekend. This is a pretty packed weekend for the city of Conway. Friday night, they have a springtime concert series they call Grooving on the Green. It starts at 7:30 p.m. on the town green at 200 Laurel Street. And they will have vendors out there. They said that have restaurants that are open that you can walk in and visit. They have a band playing every week. This week, their featured band is the Bailey Road Band, a bunch of locals from Conway. Very good band. I've heard them before. It's free to the public. Come out, sit around, listen to music, have a good time. There's a classic car show starting at 5 p.m. that is also free. and that's on Friday night starting at 7:30, and then Saturday at 8 a.m. until 12 noon at the Conway Sport and Fitness Center is the Great American Cleanup. For anybody who isn't familiar with the Great American Cleanup, it is an incentive by the federal government to get citizens out and to go pick up trash in the local area. So they would start at the rec center and just spread out in the groups around town, around that corridor of town, and pick up trash just to make the area look better. It's something they've done a lot. They do it for different groups. I know some of the high school clubs do it for service points, and this one is, anybody can come who would like to volunteer. And I know the city and the Parks and Rec Department would greatly appreciate it. They love to have it every year. It's always a great time with a lot of good people. And then my last announcement is at 8 a.m. under the Main Street Bridge in front of Peanut Warehouse and Bonfire Restaurant. This is the second weekend of the Co-op Farmers Market. They do this every year in Conway. It's free, once again, free to attend. You can go and walk around. There's different local vendors. People who have their own gardens. Some people are produce market families who are out there, and they sell fresh produce, flowers, other goods like honey, things of that nature. And it's just a good time. I mean, it's a great walk around. It's from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. And it'll be every Saturday until October 29th. You can go out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess, it catches all of the growing seasons. You get your strawberries and stuff now, and then summertime, your watermelons, cucumbers, tomatoes kick in. And, toward the end of summer, you get your squash and some of your greens and stuff like that coming in. So it encompasses all of your growing seasons. And it's a great time. I've been to it a couple times myself. You find all kinds of great things, local, fresh things, that would be a lot more expensive in the grocery store.
In the grocery store, yeah.
Plus, you're also helping out a neighbor, and that's what community is all about, neighbors helping neighbors. So they're helping you get fresh, local produce that's going to be nutritious and healthy, and you're also helping put money in the pocket of another local family. And that's all the announcements I have for today. I told you I was going to be like the preacher. I wouldn't keep you too long. Give you what you need and get you out.
I heard that. Well, I have a few. Exactly. I have a few I'm going to add to the stream. And
can I say something, April, to your audience regarding Marcus, this report, not I'm going to call it a report. That's all of that and more is going to be in our upcoming issue of the Rural Community Magazine, okay? Coming up today, tomorrow or the next day. So look forward to it. And all of Marcus's report, even a more in-depth report will be in it, okay? So look forward to that.
Brother Eric, while you're talking about the magazine, please let our audience know how they can subscribe.
Okay, it would be better, if I had the graphics to put up there, but...
I thought you might have a magazine right next to you.
Yeah, I've got a magazine right here.
Okay, yeah.
I thought you'd probably see it better on the graphics. But, yeah. This is... I'm just going to show the page.
Tell them about the subscription rate.
Yeah. Just show the page in the event that you don't have to be fumbling through when you get it. Okay, but it's the you can subscribe by sending it to the Rural Community Magazine, P.O. Box 2391, Conway, South Carolina 29528. And for information, you can just call this number, the office number, 843-331-3043 for subscription. Or Ms. Jenna Falk, she was a treasurer. You can get her at 843-248-9390. I'll say that again. For her, Ms. Jenna Falk is 843-248-9390. And you will be supporting a worthy cause, okay? Even though we're LLC, but we want to keep getting the information out because we think that, well, we know that information is power, okay? So, and it's a monthly magazine. And again, for the printed copy, you just $96 a year, okay? That's all. Your printed copy of the magazine. And we have to send it to you by way of postage and including mailing costs. That's $110. Still. Electronically, just $50 a month. A year, okay? You get them every month, all right? Again, you can subscribe with that information. So hope you got information down. We certainly would welcome your support.
All right. And so I'm going to go into some more community announcements before we roll out of here for the evening. We want to say congratulations to Reggie Dyson, nominated for Station of the Year for the Stella Awards for 2022. Congratulations, Reggie, with Rejoice. I know that all of you are familiar with Reggie Dyson and his stations across the area. And so it's wonderful that he was able to actually make it to the finals, and we wish him a lot of luck in Atlanta, Georgia. We hope that you come home with the win. So congratulations, Reggie Dyson.
He's going to come home with the win this time.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So also remember, if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, the Rape Crisis Center serving Horry and Georgetown counties is looking for a volunteer advocate, and they have a volunteer advocate training that's happening during the month of May. And if you are interested, please contact Sharon Beatty. She is with the Rape Crisis Center, and she'll be able to help you. She's the volunteer and prevention coordinator. If you, of course, are on the network, or you can actually call the Rape Crisis Center to get more information about it. She will be able to assist you. So that's an opportunity for you to give back to our community. The Heart for Hearts in Home Care is having a community fair, Conway Strong, on Saturday, May the 14th, beginning at 8 a.m. This is free to the public, so you'll want to come out to Highway 378 beside Whittemore Park Middle School and enjoy the festivities. They're going to have a yard sale, some entertainment, some bouncy houses for the children, free food, and they're hiring on the spot. So if you're looking for a position in home health care, the community fair is the place to be on Saturday the 14th at 8 a.m. So wanted to let you all know about that. And the Carolina Forest Sea Wolves, which is a football and they're actually football and cheer camps. They have an open season registration now. And if you're interested, this is happening at the Carolina Forest Rec Center. You want to be in touch with their cheer coach, who is Coach Lindsay. For more information, you can call 843-360-0883 and get in touch with the coaches about enrolling your young athlete or cheerleader into the sports camp. There's a back to school assistance program that the Catholic Charities of South Carolina is providing now. Back to school assistance for 2022 is available to Horry County schools families. So registration is required. You must schedule an appointment to get more information. It's on a first come, first served basis until all slots are filled. The charities PD number is 843-438-3247. And they are actually extending this assistance until June 27th or until all spots are filled. So make sure you are in touch with them if you need some back to school assistance.
Bye.
The Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated Mu Iota Omega chapter is having a Minding Our Health and Wellness fair on Saturday, May the 14th, starting at 9:30 a.m. at Crown Reef Beach Resort Conference Center. It is free. And you know how we feel about free. It's free.
99.
That's right. So if you want to get your mind, body, and soul in check, this is the place to be. You can register at Eventbrite. I'm sure that the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority has a Facebook page if you want to check them out and get more information about their Minding Our Health and Wellness Fair. And that's Saturday, May 14th, starting at 9:30 a.m. until 2:30 at the Crown Reef Beach Resort and Conference Center. The West Foundation Sports Camp has a scholarship program for this year. Registration period, it started in April and it ends on May the 16th. You want to apply now if you're a young person in need of a scholarship for the upcoming collegiate season. They are going to award one $3,000 scholarship to a senior that attended the inaugural West Foundation football camp in 2017, and two 1,500 scholarships to seniors in Horry County. So this is wonderful that there's, scholarship opportunities out there for our young people. The West Foundation actually has a couple, as I've mentioned, and we have the McWin Scholarship. We have the Whittemore Alumni Scholarship. There's the Dennis Dennis Latimer Memorial Scholarship. There's a lot of opportunity out there. So don't leave this money on the table. If you need assistance
Absolutely.
and you want to go to college, make sure that you are applying for these scholarships when the scholarship periods are open. And so this one is still open until May 16th. If you need more information, visit westffc.com, or you can email them at info@westffc.com. The Randall Youth Football Camp is Saturday, June 25th from 8:30 a.m. until noon for ages 7 to 15. So if you want to enroll your young person in the football camp, please make sure that you are at the Doug Shaw Memorial Field at 705 33rd Avenue North in Myrtle Beach. Check in, looks like it's at 8:40. Then they'll do a warm up, and then they're going to do drills. And of course, the Randall Youth Camp. We already know that Jerome Randall does some amazing things with the kids every single year with his youth camp. So this is another opportunity. And if you want more information, of course, this will be available for rebroadcast, but also we'll post this information in the network and on our WCM Live page. And then finally, Cola Jazz presents the Cousins. They are going to have a free online concert May 14th, I believe it is, at 8 p.m. It will be televised as a live stream across YouTube. So we need all of the support as possible, and make sure that you are tuned in. And if you I know Priscilla Fuller provided us with this information. So Ms. Fuller, if you're watching, if you can drop that information into the thread so that anyone who's interested will know how to access this particular free concert, that would be wonderful. But the Cousins are playing as a part of the Cola Jazz Festival, I think it is. And that's going to be May 14th at 8 p.m. Sounds like a good time to me. I don't know about you, Brother Edward, but it sounds like a really good time.
It was a good time to me.
All right. And yes, good jazz. And so we just want to remind everyone that if you have community announcements, festivals that are happening, community fairs, anything that is free to the public, or if you have events that are happening that are not necessarily free to the public, but the events are for a good cause, because of course, if you're nonprofit, if you have certain foundations, you're trying to raise money for these causes and foundations. I mean, usually there's a ticket price or something associated with it. But as long as it's a nonprofit event, or again, a free event, please let us know. You can send the information to me via the network, or through my inbox on Facebook, or you can also email it to me at aprilgarner007@gmail.com. And I will do my best to keep up with everything that you send me and plug it in every week whenever we do the community announcements. So it's been a great evening. There's a lot going on in Conway.
There's a lot going on in Conway.
A lot going on in Conway
County. I mean, it's just.
More to come as we get into the summer months, and but definitely want to caution everyone to continue to practice safety as much as possible, because the COVID numbers are going up a little bit.
That's right.
And if we want to continue to enjoy some of this fresh air and these outings that are happening, we got to make sure that we are doing our best to help keep the COVID numbers down. So masks whenever possible, practice social distancing, even if they say you don't have to. And
that's when you practice. When you say
that's when you practice. Exactly. And as always, Marcus, thank you so much for your weekly reports. We really do appreciate it. And Marcus, again, is our WCM Live correspondent, and he's covering as much of Conway and Horry County as he possibly can. But if you're watching and you're interested in being a correspondent, you can be in touch with Brother Edward, and he'll give you an assignment. he'll give you an assignment, and you can be on our weekly broadcast with us to make sure that we get news from all of the corners of this area. Yeah. Especially
community needs that kind of information. We need to inform, as much as possible. We don't want to be left behind.
Absolutely. So thank you all for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Brother Edward, do you have anything else that you want to say before we roll out?
Just want to say it was a great show, and we welcome all of our viewers, and thank you so much for your comments you're sending in. That means, April, that the bars have been heightened Okay, for us to go over, the bar has been raised, right? So we just gotta keep making sure that our community gets the information that they need to get to make these kind of decisions, or else, we're just gonna be so far behind in a lot of things that we should not have to be.
That's right.
Okay. We're looking out for it's the next generation. That's important.
And we must stay informed.
Stay informed.
Must stay informed. So thank you, everyone, and we hope that you have a great rest of the week. Take care, and God bless. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.